Hi everyone, this is New Wave of British Heavy Metal.com. It's the 12th of July 2020 and we'll take a quick look in this video at a band called Zenith, who were from Weston-super-Mare in Somerset, and they were around briefly in the 1980s, and they've just had, thanks to obscure Nawabum releases, just had their stuff out on CD now, Death by Misadventure. And we're going to take a quick look at that. It's just been released and it is fantastic stuff. I mean, when you know, bands like Zenith flew under the radar back in the original new wave of British heavy metal days, but when you hear stuff like this, you really wonder why they weren't bigger. And you know, you've got to add them to that list of bands that should have been huge. But anyway, that's another story, isn't it? But back in those days, as I recall, and I might be wrong, tell me if I am, there was more than one band called Zenith back then. But to make the distinction, this is the Zenith that were from Weston-super-Mare, right? They gigged around that area mainly, and I believe, if my memory is right, and it might not be, they did release a 3-track EP back then, which is pretty much impossible to find these days. You know, if you've got a copy or you can find one somewhere, good luck to you. But you know, four decades later, and again, thanks to obscure Nawabum releases, we can enjoy Zenith for the first time and listen to just how good they could have been back then. Those 3 tracks on that old EP are on the CD, together with another dozen or so tracks which were recorded by the band back then but haven't seen the light of day until now, and it really is top stuff. It's a little bit raw in places, but you can understand that, and but there really is no denying the ability that Zenith had back then. And listening to this, I kind of, for me, the CD falls into 2 distinct halves, if I can put it that way. The first half dozen or so songs are of what I'd call a short, sharp shock style, bit of a tongue twister, right? You know, everything's there around 3 to 4 minutes. They're really punchy, no nonsense, powerful songs delivered with energy in that typical Nawabum style. Everything's there, you know, chunky, slashing, chugging riffs. What I'd deem economical soloing, which comes along in relative short bursts, given the shortish nature of the songs, but it's all deftly played. It's skillful stuff. For example, Ruthless is a powerful opener. Leaving You Right Now as a very tasty hook and melody to it, amongst the riffing, as does Heavy Heart, which is you know, a really catchy song as well, and was an ideal single. Death by Misadventure, Fear of Attack, and similar, all being strong songs of that style. No nonsense, no mucking about, straight between the eyes, short, powerful, heavy rock songs. Excellent. And then the second half kind of kicks in for me after that with a song called Born for No Future. And it triggers a change in style and variation which showcases the band's ability to write somewhat more expansive stuff, particularly the guitar interplay, which really comes to the fore with this song onwards. You know, but Born with No Future itself, it's very much in the style of Thin Lizzy, and it sounds excellent. It's one of the best songs that Thin Lizzy should have written, probably. Blacklist next is where that more expansive style really starts to come into itself. That song stretches out very nicely. It's got big chords, pace changes, and some really extended and very fluid guitar breaks, and plenty of swagger around it as well. It's really well delivered. Take the Souls as a Dead, monster rocker, as is Gates of Hell, which brings us through to the closer, which is called Destiny. And this is arguably the jewel in the crown here. It's a brooding, slow-burning, moody epic. That gentle picked intro builds up and then starts to give way to the real meaty stuff. Some really strong riffs, powerful stuff, but maintains that slow, brooding, moody style to it as well. It switches back to the gentle stuff and back again a time or two. and the guitars are all over it. Really excellent stuff. And check out the last couple of minutes or so, where the guitars really get to shine. It's a proper solo fest, you know, monster stuff. And it really is so great that organisations like Obscure and the Wobbin Releases are able to dig up stuff like this. You know, recently we looked at Drive Shaft, which is another one that Obscure and the Wobbin Releases put out. Zenith is another one. It really is good that these guys find old bands from back then and do what they do to get stuff out on CD, because otherwise, you know, bands as good as Zenith were would remain mostly forgotten about. So thanks to them for putting this out. Death by Misadventure is excellent stuff, but as usual with the label, it's on a limited run of, I believe, 500 copies. Now, I got mine as usual from Sonic Age Records. I'm thinking they might have sold out of their allocation because I couldn't find it listed on their website anymore, but I did find it on HRR Records. I'll put a link to that underneath in the description, and then if they've got any left, you might be able to pick up a copy of yourself for yourself. I would recommend you do. Zenith, you know, discover a band that should have been excellent. Well, sorry, that were excellent but should have been bigger, and yet more evidence that the original new wave of heavy metal bands were just burgeoning talent, but probably too much competition for all of them to get as big as they could have been. But enough of my rambling. If you want to get a copy, I would suggest you do, if there are any left. So there are, as I'm talking, available on HRR. I'll put a link to that under the description with some other stuff as well. So check that out. Thanks for letting me ramble on about it. Subscribe to the channel if you'd like to, then you'll get to see other videos as we release when we review stuff also. So thanks for watching. Check out the link below. Get your copy of Zenith Death by Misadventure. Subscribe to the channel. Visit the blog. And take care.